All right, so what is it? What's that one thing, that secret sauce, that separates the most successful entrepreneurs from, well, everybody else? You know, it's not always the funding or getting the timing just right or even having a once-in-a-lifetime idea. Nope. It's something way more fundamental, and today we are going to break it all down.
We've all seen this stat, right? It's pretty staggering. So why does it happen? Is it a bad product, a super crowded market, or do they just run out of cash? I mean, sure, those are all factors, absolutely, but they're often just the symptoms, not the real root cause. The real reason is usually hiding in plain sight.
And that, right there, is the heart of it. A brilliant strategy or some game-changing product can only get you so far. Real, lasting success, the kind that can survive a storm and pivot when needed, it's built on a very specific way of thinking.
So what is the secret ingredient exactly? We're talking about the entrepreneurial mindset. You can think of it like the internal operating system that's driving every single move. It's the software running in the background of every decision, every risk, and every comeback.
This whole framework really stands on 4 key pillars. First up, optimism, especially when everything feels like it's going wrong. Second, taking total ownership of your results, the good and the bad. Third is resilience, that all-important ability to get knocked down and get right back up. And finally, a relentless, nonstop commitment to getting better, day in and day out.
Now, the psychological bedrock for this whole idea, it comes from Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck and her totally groundbreaking research on what she calls the growth mindset. Honestly, if you get this one idea, it changes everything. Okay, and this slide, this is where it all clicks. It just lays out the 2 paths so clearly. On the left, you've got the fixed mindset. These are the folks who think you're either born with it or you're not. They avoid challenges because, they don't want to look bad. But then, look to the right. That's where the magic happens. The growth mindset. This is where truly successful entrepreneurs live. They believe their abilities can be developed through dedication and sheer hard work. They don't just tolerate challenges, they actually seek them out because they see failure as what it really is. Crucial data for learning and getting better.
So, we've got the theory down. Now let's see how this mindset actually plays out in the real world. We're going to take a look at 3 absolute titans of industry and see how their unique ways of thinking really fueled their incredible success.
First up, Elon Musk. I mean, you can't really talk about audacious goals without bringing him up. Just think about SpaceX. While everyone else was building rockets you could only use once, Musk was dead set on building reusable ones, a goal that at the time sounded like pure science fiction to most people.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures his whole philosophy. This isn't about chasing the easy wins. It's about tackling the problems that really matter, even when success seems completely improbable. That kind of conviction, that goes way beyond your typical business plan. So here's the key takeaway. A big vision is totally worthless without execution. Musk pairs these massive, world-changing dreams with a legendary work ethic. I mean, when the first 3 SpaceX rockets literally blew up on the launch pad, he didn't quit. He saw each one of those failures as just another data point, another chance to learn. And on the 4th try, he made history. All right, so if Musk's story is all about that crazy big vision, our next Titan's journey is an absolute masterclass in resilience. Oprah Winfrey's story shows how you can actually transform deep personal hardship into a source of unbelievable strength and connection.
You see, her success wasn't built in spite of her difficult past. In a lot of ways, it was built because of it. She developed this profound emotional intelligence, this empathy that let her connect with her audience in a way that nobody else could. And by lifting others up, she built an entire empire founded on trust and real authenticity.
Okay, our final example is a story of just relentless curiosity and persistence. Sara Blakely, the founder of Spanx, she built a billion-dollar company with 0 prior experience in fashion or retail. She started with just $5,000 of her own savings. So how in the world did she pull that off?
Her superpower was what you might call a beginner's mind. She wasn't afraid to ask the really basic questions that all the industry insiders had just stopped asking years ago. She lived by the idea of failing forward, a concept she learned selling fax machines door to door, where she got rejected constantly. She knew that every no, every little mistake was just one more step toward figuring out what did work.
Okay, so we've seen the theory, and we've looked at real-world examples from visionaries, survivors, and innovators. Now, let's talk about you. How can you start building this kind of mindset in your own life? Because let me tell you, it takes practice. It has to be intentional and consistent. Here are a few things you can start doing today.
This stuff is so simple, but it is so powerful. First, just commit to 20 minutes of learning every day. That could be an article, a chapter in a book, a podcast, anything. Second, you have to actively seek out discomfort. Say yes to that project that makes you a little nervous. That feeling, that's the feeling of growth. And third, take just a few minutes every week to reflect. What went well? What didn't? That's where the real aha moments are hiding.
Now, as you start building these new habits, just be ready, because your old ways of thinking are going to fight back. Think of them like the final bosses in a video game that you need to defeat on your journey to a true growth mindset.
And this slide, this is your field guide for fighting them. Feeling stuck in that perfectionism trap? You know, when nothing's ever good enough to launch? Look at that first row. Remember Reid Hoffman's advice. Ship early and iterate. Get it out there. Paralyzed by a fear of failure? Row 2. You have to reframe it as data, just like Arianna Huffington says. And when you find yourself comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel, and we all do it, just look at that third mantra from Steve Jobs. Stay hungry, stay foolish, and get back to focusing on your own path. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here, so let's just pull back for a second. Before we wrap this up, I want to show you the actual blueprint of this mindset, the essential pillars that hold this whole thing up.
So look, if you take nothing else away from this, make these 4 pillars your own. Number 1, embrace a growth mindset. You are not a finished product. Number 2, build your resilience. Every setback is just a setup for a comeback. 3, maintain a long-term vision. Play the long game. And finally, number 4, and maybe the most important, take action. A great mindset means absolutely nothing if it doesn't translate into execution.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to this incredibly powerful idea from Henry Ford. The beliefs that you hold about your own capabilities, they literally create the boundaries of what's possible for you. Your mindset isn't just a part of the game, it is the game.
So I'm going to leave you with a little challenge to put all of this into action. I want you to look at what's right in front of you right now. What's one thing you're afraid of? One challenge you've been avoiding? How can you reframe that fear, not as a threat, but as an opportunity? An opportunity to learn, to grow, and to get one step closer to your goal. The answer to that question, that's your first step. Remember, your mindset is your greatest asset.